so that you can.
Yeah.
I
Am I audible?
have initiated recording. I hope that's all right with everyone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Dr. Anuruddha.
Good afternoon, everyone. And with Tapasda's permission and Snigdha ma'am's, we can start now.
Yeah, please.
Thank you so much. So I'll take this opportunity to formally welcome everyone for this webinar. So this webinar is the third webinar of our monthly series on advancing climate action, community resilience, and knowledge collaboration in Asia Pacific. And we are very happy to have diverse collaborators with us for this webinar. And today's session specifically it focuses on critical and often we see misunderstood theme, that is climate change adaptation versus climate change resilience, and basically understanding the distinction between the two and also bridging that gap. So we know that the climate risks continue to intensify in the region, and it has become increasingly important for us as practitioners, policymakers, and humanitarian actors to clearly understand these concepts and basically how they shape our interventions on the ground. The impact these interventions have in short term as well as in long term. So on behalf of Sphere India and all of our knowledge partners today, I would like to thank all of you for taking the time to join us today. And I would, with that, it is now my pleasure to introduce our moderator for the session, Mr. Tapas Ranjan Chakrabarti, who's Senior Program Manager for Green Development and Climate Change Adaptation Modeling at Bangladesh. He brings extensive experience in climate change adaptation, program design, and evidence-based modeling, particularly within development and humanitarian context. And we're delighted to have him today to guide today's discussion and bring diverse perspectives on this important topic. So with that brief introduction, I'll hand you, Tapasa, to take the discussions forward.
Okay, thank you. And very welcome to the discussion on climate change adaptation versus climate change resilience. Dr. Snigdha Chakrabarti, Snigdha Di, I call her. Snigdha Di is here. And Didi has very long experience of working on the climate change and development, I think, and the background of anthropology and other development-related studies. So Snigdha Di will detail us about the difference and the similarities too. When in this afternoon, I sit with my team and ask who are young that what is the difference between climate change adaptation and resilience, and I asked them to join. What did they speak about this to know? So the thing is that they give us a mixed answer. A few of them said resilience is many more things. Yeah, we know resilience is many more things, but what are that many more? So, and sometime when we started, from the experience of Bangladesh, when we started the climate change adaptation, most of the country's investment was in the adaptation. Though we have been using this word resilient for many days, but when we are thinking a resilient community, the definition and the reality in community, sometimes it's truly defined, and sometimes it's quite difficult for the development workers also, that how we will make the difference between the adaptation interventions only and the resilient. One of my team member, she said resilient adaptation is one part of resilient, definitely, maybe. I'll not take time because Didi will have one long discussion, and then we can we'll easily ask Didi that about if we have some queries and questions. Without delaying, and you know about Snigdha Di. So I'm not actually willing to make this description about Didi because she's very known to all of us. Many names are known to me here. Who are we now? So now I'm requesting Didi to start. Didi, this is the PowerPoint you will have?
Yes, I do have a PowerPoint.
Okay. So after Didi's presentation and sharing in the, then we will have our question answer. It will be better.
I think good to see you, Tapajda, and everyone here. Thank you for inviting me. I think I'm a bit, I think the discussion that I will initiate would not probably match with your perspective or whatever, because I was not sure what, because the session name is resilient behavior. So my focus was a bit on that, and also trying to bring other perspectives related to the non-climate risks as well. So I don't know whether it will meet your objective or your expectation, but I'm happy to discuss after the presentation, whatever the questions or comments come in. So please, apologies for that I might have directed my slides in a different perspective. Let me share my screen. And I'll turn off my video for the bandwidth.
Yeah. I will also off the video. Yeah.
And please let me know if you are able to see my screen. If somebody can just make a shout out.
Yeah, it is clear. It is visible.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you so much. So I think the session was on resilient behavior, and I was pondering actually what we need to discuss or what we should be, bringing in to shift our mindset or shift our thoughts probably a little bit. To me, it's a bit of a buzzword. So far, I know that how we all of us are trying to make it a reality. So yeah, I will focus on that in terms of resilient behavior and what are we ignoring and what probably we are leaving behind without maybe consciously or unconsciously, I don't know. And so why this conversation matters to us even today is that, we are living in a world in a permanent crisis situation. Over 22 to 123 million people are forcibly displaced globally. I will come back to that definition or whatever maybe later. And out of that, over 117 million displaced by the conflict and persecution alone. And to me, I want to bring that perspective here because we cannot talk about climate risks and resilient behavior without thinking about
just a minute, Snigdha. I would like to interrupt. Nupur, is that whole session being recorded in YouTube?
Yes, sir. It's being recorded.
Okay. Thank you. Snigdha, please continue.
Okay, so that's why I wanted to bring that perspective of the displacement, which is created by the conflict and persecution alone. And you can look at the numbers and correct it also if needed to the based on the UN data. And over 250 million disaster displacement in last 10 years, which means that almost 70,000 a day. And conflicts have doubled globally in scale and spread alongside the natural disasters and climate hazards. So I want to pack them up all into one lens because conflicts have created a double displacement or double pain to the communities who are probably also fighting climate risk at the same time. So basically, we are no longer just dealing with the shocks and stresses by the whatever natural or climate related shocks and stresses. People's lives are continuously disrupted and affected equally or even probably more long term by the conflicts. And to be honest, because I have been working in the conflict context since last many years, and that's why I personally, as a practitioner, I cannot dissociate that from the climate shocks or climate economic shocks, etc. So these are overlapping conflict, climate, economic crisis, or shocks and stresses. They are overlapping to each other, and our system probably has not caught them up yet. And that's why you are still dealing with them in isolation. So what is resilience? I wish I could have done a Mentimeter, a question and make it more interactive, but I was not sure whether the session has those options or not. But overall, the framework of resilience is about absorbing capacity, adaptive capacity, and then recovering capacity or capacity to recover. And to achieve that, we all know that UNDRR focus areas are risk knowledge, locally led disaster risk reduction, financing for DRR, recovery readiness, etc. Plus, there are many other cross-cutting approaches. I'm not detailing all of that because this is a very august audience here. But however, in addition to these natural and climate-related displacement, I'm again bringing back that displacement is also driven by the conflict, violence, and human rights violations, which are probably political drivers and being avoided under the current landscape of resilience because of its political nature of it. But the landscape of resilience cannot probably ignore them any further. The time is running out. So is it a new normal, conflict and climate change, or conflict-related displacement, or climate-related displacement, or conflict-related vulnerability and climate-related vulnerability? We need to probably combine them together. Is it a new normal for the people, those who are already vulnerable because of the climate-related risks? Overall, 3 in 4 displaced people actually live in climate vulnerable countries. And these are all UN findings. Climate shocks are intensifying conflict and repeated displacement as well. As I mentioned, over almost 70,000 a day displacement, disaster-related displacement happens a day. And internal displacement due to the conflict has also been doubled in last decade. So climate resilience cannot be separated from conflict dynamics. Displacement is no longer temporary as well. Both climate-related displacement or conflict-related displacement, they are prolonged and cyclical, both. And I want to put this out in the beginning so that we, just to probably make a bit of a shift in our thought process. Now, what is the reality of India? Because I'm sure this is more of an Indian audience or whatever, but or the subcontinent. We know that India is one of the highest disaster displacement countries globally. Millions are displaced. I don't want to go into the data. They are all available in the age of AI. Internal displacement is still under-recognized in our policy frameworks, and probably in the subcontinent, they're always underestimated or under-recognized. To me, resilience in India is being framed more of an infrastructure success rather than human vulnerability. So success is measured more in terms of loss and damage data rather than vulnerability data. I might be wrong, correct me, but this is what is the reality probably. So as I was telling up in the beginning, that are we leaving people behind? Because we are still looking at, few things. So one package is climate and disaster related risk and vulnerability and displacement. Another is conflict related risk, and the drivers are mostly political or poor governance, etc. And then we have this under recognition in the policy framework. And then focus is more on infrastructure driven resilience rather than human vulnerability driven resilience. And that's why probably we are leaving many people behind. So here are a few questions for all of us to ponder. can we really build resilience in isolation from conflict, governance failure, and inequality? I think it is the time to really think through with this, using this lens when we talk about resilience. And if yes, who are we choosing to leave behind? Millions are people are trapped in the overlap of climate shocks and conflict. Again, I have seen this in the last few years, how both are overlapping and really making people more vulnerable. Why do we continue to separate resilience from the conflict, weak governance, and inequality? When entire population is probably living with the reality of both climate disasters and violence at the same time. For example, I just give you the example maybe now, just for those who probably have not got exposed to the conflict so much. If a person, an employer from, say, from a remote corner of Bangladesh, maybe somewhere from the islands, Monpura Island, bringing, sending remittance from somewhere in the Middle East, is not able to send it right now. And if their house is affected by soil erosion or river erosion in Monpura Island in Bangladesh, will be equally impacted as a family, affected by a thunderstorm or whatever you say. So separating both is probably not the right approach. Is our resilience agenda failing those doubly affected by climate crisis and conflict because we still treat them separately, even in our program deliveries between humanitarian and development sectors? I'm sure many of us here are working either in the development sector or humanitarian, where you go with the more of a meeting the immediate needs of the people after the crisis has impacted them. Can we demonstrate humanitarian peace development nexus with our current resilience approach? Because without bringing that nexus or demonstrating that nexus, we probably are leaving many people behind in the face of vulnerability. Can we speak of resilience while ignoring the conflict, governance breakdown, and inequality? As I said, that millions of people are facing both shocks simultaneously. So, as we all know, that there have been, discussions, another big buzzword around localization. Yes, let's make the people at the center. Another dimension that we need to make it as a reality. Humanitarian and DRR or resilience system shift has been happening. Localization agenda is coming very strongly, which ensures the recognition of the local actors as first responders, but funding still remains very highly centralized, less flexibility, etc. So how we make them at the center, how we make it reality? I think that's another perspective that we need to think about when we talk about the resilience or resilient behavior. The reality is that community manages risks long before the external systems arrive. We all know about it. And localization is widely endorsed, including the local communities, but not structurally implemented. So let us make it a reality that how we can ensure that people are at the center of everything that we do. Tapasda, can you help or someone that, or maybe you can raise your hand or unmute yourself, that can you just give me some ideas? What comes to your mind when we talk about resilient behavior? That will help actually probably to understand the perspective from my side.
Yeah, one thing, Snigdhadeep, usually what we feel when we call it a community or someone is resilient, that means the the feature that we found that, okay, even in some extreme disaster event or climate event, they can cope or come back in their position again. This is how we mean resilient. So
Any other? Very good.
yeah.
Thank you so much. Mm.
So any other, if as Didi asked, if we can share our experience or what we think as resilient behavior.
Yeah, can I talk?
Yes, please.
To me, basically, it is to be able to better anticipate the upcoming shocks and
Sir,
how.
please introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Tauhid. I'm from China. At this moment, I'm in China. Maybe we'll just discuss more on those issues later. But in the process of this presentation, maybe just a little bit of discussion. To me, it is all about the capacity of an individual to just anticipate the probable risks, and the way he should just mitigate the risks in terms of good skills, the assets or the resources, or the partnerships or the community strengths, whatever he has or he might have. Those kind of thoughts, if someone can be banking on to absorb the shocks, maybe he is a resilient person. I could just tell it from my own experiences. Basically, in the disaster, the risk and challenge issues that you talked about, that basically I faced in my childhood, and now maybe I'm not that much vulnerable the way people are facing those crises. And I think that my education or some of these strengths that I could just mention here, maybe those are very useful for me to just handle those particular anticipatory risks and cope with the situations. That is maybe a kind of behavior to distinguish it from other particular concepts like humanitarian response or the issues relating to development gaps. That is maybe a kind of I sense that way the resilience. Thank you, Didi.
Thank you. Any other?
Yeah, we need at least another more.
I would request Dr. Saptarothi Dev is there. He is from Italy, Padua, and I would request him to just give some emphasis, put some emphasis on this, because it is very valuable when we are thinking globally.
Okay. If people are not, that's okay. No problem. No. Anybody can still unmute and talk. I'm not able to see the screen though. So can I go ahead, Tapasda?
Yeah, please.
Yes, Didi.
Okay. So yeah, I think that's very good. What Tapasda or Tauhid mentioned. It is the everyday decisions that people make to anticipate, to adapt, and recover from the risks that they face on a daily basis. It's rooted in their experience, community's experience. It's rooted in community's culture or local knowledge. For examples, livelihood diversification, migration as adaptation, as I said. But this is definitely changing in the scenario of forced displacement. Community savings and mutual support systems. We all know that there are many, for example, a local shopkeeper who would probably give things on credit to the families to pay later, etc., which is always, there. And then the overall resilience definitely includes the trauma, the loss, the adaptation, and the rebuilding process. There are many other things. You can always unpack each of these and add, a lot of other aspects of it. But this is what overall the resilient behavior is around. Livelihoods. Resilient behavior is around experience, it's culture. It's about the local knowledge, mutual support system, etc., which constantly drives the communities before the external system arrives to them for any support. Why it matters? We all know that systems fail, but behaviors persist. So if people are adopting any of the behaviors that here, for example, if they're already doing diversification of their livelihoods, safe migration, etc., then those behaviors persist no matter what they do and where they go. Systems definitely can fail. And then, of course, behavior determines whether interventions will succeed or fail. And what communities are already practicing as their resilient behavior on a daily basis. And that's what needs to be identified before any interventions are designed or targeted. And we know that repeated displacement shows people continuously adapt, adjust, and rebuild, including the conflict-related displacement. Suddenly, overnight, a family does not have any house. Overnight, a family is completely split. Children are somewhere, parents are somewhere. People still adapt, and I would say that adapting or adjusting is very painful. It's a combination of pain and hope, both. How do we scale the behavior? We probably, again, this is not probably in reality. Can we invest what people are already doing, not just external solutions? We keep talking about it. Can we make it a reality and strengthen the local coping strategies with resources, information, and services? I strongly advocate that do not replace anything that already exists in the communities. For example, community has their own lending system, like they all borrow money from each other. Why we are promoting a microfinance into that, bringing an external solution which is based on the traditional knowledge? Why don't we strengthen that? And this is where community savings is more successful than fund-driven or a formal banking led microfinance. Policies should be aligned as much as funding to reward those adaptive behaviors. So that's what is required, that can we reward the success, even like minor adaptive behaviors which are really showing the strength within the communities. And then design programs that are flexible to how people actually respond to risk. As I mentioned, no matter we talk about the localization, the funding is there, but the funding is still very restricted, not flexible, and also centralized. So those shifts need to happen, and use the real-time feedback to scale what works locally, measure our failures. Are we ignoring the behavior? We don't know. So I would say that it would be extremely important that we recognize our failure and we speak about it. So, like say spade as spade. And that probably is another perspective which will strengthen the local resilient behavior. So getting back to what Tapusda was saying in the beginning, and also I'm sure the other participants who are here, is that youth population, young population in the world are actually the drivers of resilient behaviors, which we often so far ignored or, did not make it as a reality. As we know, 2 billion young people are there globally who are underutilized or unrecognized. And over 90% live in countries like India or Bangladesh or in the subcontinent. And they are disproportionately exposed to the climate risk, disasters, and conflict. I mean, all these vulnerabilities make them more vulnerable to the conflict risk related to the conflicts, violence. All of these are impacting this large section of the population globally. So they are just not a vulnerable group, as UNDRR says, that they are agents of change in disaster risk reduction. My personal perspective is that they are agents of change even in the conflict situation as well. For example, we all remember in case of India, there are a lot of volunteers who came out on the street, including Bangladesh. Red Crescent volunteers were out on the street during COVID time, supporting oxygen cylinders, etc., etc. Similarly, there are a lot of young kids are in the conflict zone who are working for their own communities. Sendai framework include youth in at least 3 priorities. I would say priority 2. When we talk about inclusive risk governance, it has to include young population. Strengthening risk knowledge and awareness also need to be focused on young youth generation. Enhancing preparedness and build back better, which is priority 4, cannot be implemented or shouldn't be implemented without considering youth as the drivers of those priorities. They are very critical in terms of early warning dissemination and last mile communication. We have seen many successes based on my experience in Bangladesh as well as in other countries. And I think those needs to be scaled up as well. But it seems they're still just as often consulted, not really empowered, or included symbolically, not structurally. As I mentioned, when we talk about inclusive risk governance, where are the youth? When we talk about general governance, where is youth coming in? So it's kind of a bit symbolical, still not really as an empowerment process or whatsoever. This is the UNDRR approach in the for youth for resilient behavior. I'm not detailing it out. I'm not talking about digital innovation and activism, volunteerism and action. All of these are linked to the empowerment of the youth for resilient behavior. Can we really shift us from a token participation to a shared leadership? Can we really hand it over and empower them? So I would stop here and open up for any question, comments, suggestions, recommendation, feedback. Thank you so much.
I would request Mr. Kedar Chaudhuri to ask your questions, because you have written 2 questions in the chat box.
Okay, I did not see that.
You can ask the questions directly to the speaker.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am talking from Odisha, India. I have been the long experience of dealing with disasters since 99 Odisha super cyclone. Since then, maybe more than a dozen of disasters like floods, cyclones, earthquake, tsunami. So my first question was disaster-induced migration, maybe seasonal, maybe permanent. Is it called as a adaptation mechanism, or it will be called as a kind of I see as the displacement kind of thing? We'll look from that angle. So that was my first question. And second thing that I had given a suggestion that this vulnerability, this risk vulnerability and adaptation, coping mechanism, whatever we are saying. So this should be start from the individual household up to the state level, because some household level preparedness or resilience building will not help the entire community. The community has to be again the village and the panchayat. So they should also be, they should also adapt to different kinds of resilience building. So now, right now, we are in Odisha. We are doing. I don't know about other states. With the funding from Odisha Disaster Mitigation Authority, a small funding they are giving, and we are sitting with the villagers and preparing their preparedness plan. Suppose flood is a recurrent no, here in coastal part of Odisha. So the people sit and they plan with the rangoli and other things, risk planning, vulnerability planning, resource mapping. So those kind of things we just discuss with them and prepare a plan of action. If the next flood comes, what the community will be prepared with, besides the government and other support. So that is exercise is being done, but there are a lot of lot of things to be done into it. So we need that technology, how we can introduce the technology to prepare that kind of plans at the village level. And second thing is that that need to be revised, or that kind of mock drill kind of thing revised, maybe re-looked at every year. There will be another exercise, and it has to be integrated to the panchayat level and block level plans. So there we are a little weak, but at village level or gram panchayat level we are making very good plans. I don't think it is very good plans, but with the people's support, with the people's participation, how they are perceiving and how they can be ready. So that is being happen, that is being happening, and there are the other gaps are there. We are trying to fill it up. That is the experience I am sharing. Thank you. With this August gathering. Namaste.
Okay, thank you so much. I would say on your first question, migration or displacement, it all depends whether it is safe. Is it designed? Is it a choice, or is it a forced choice? As I mentioned, that there are forced displacement happening, there are forced migration happening, which is not adaptive behavior. I mean, it is adaptive behavior, it is forced. I would not say that it is based on the local knowledge or this is what local people want. As I said, are we making people at the center of it, right? No. So that's what needs a paradigm shift, right? Second is that, as we all have seen, I'll bring back the COVID situation, and of course, again, as I mentioned, that conflict is making people also more vulnerable, double vulnerable, because doubly displaced. Maybe a person was working somewhere, now returning back because of the factories are closing due to the lack of fuel supplies or whatsoever, right? Or anything, a company is suddenly closed, etc., which is all linked to the governance. Now, we need to be very careful about making those distinctions. And I would say that, yes, we have been making those plans at the panchayat level or village level. First of all, who is making those plans? Whose plan is this, right? If communities plan, let them do it. Okay, is it an inclusive plan? Are we including youth in that? Disability, transgender communities, or others? And those who are migrated or not, or etc., etc. What are their choices? What do they really want to do? Can we just give 50? As I said, I was sitting in one of the big microfinance way back, probably about 20 years back, And John was saying that we just give $1 million to every youth and they will make their own resilience. So I would probably, it is time for us to really see how long we do the same package. It's a package we are getting. That, as I said, let's not make it external, let's make it internal. Let's without having a budget for the plan, I think we should not really facilitate any plan. If people are not able to access any finance, let's not make that plan. That's what I would say. As I said, I have my perspective, or even I don't use any buzzword. I just have to stop because of the experience that I did in the last few years, completely exposed to the conflict related vulnerability of the people. We just can't do it anymore. Let's not do a plan if there is no budget. Even the plan, the process, or the cost of making that plan, even if we give that money to the community, as I said, localization needs that funding flexibility. Localization cannot have a centralized funding approach. So that shift needs to happen. If you just give 500 rupees to that people, let them do it. Maybe they have their own innovative ideas.
Moreover, Snigdha, I would like to give an example to Mr. Kedareshwar Chaudhary, since he is from Odisha. This is an example of Sindhigao in Ganjam district, and he can take the example of Sindhigao, where the people have mobilized the resources of their own resources. So for localization or for anything resilience building or resilience behavior making, so everything you will get to know by observing Sindhigao people, how they are doing it.
Yes, I'll try to learn from there.
Didi, I have a small question to you. Can I ask? Or maybe we could discuss. Hello?
No, please, yeah, go ahead.
Uh, Basically, from your long experience, I think it's about 30 years maybe, you have done fantastic job in this particular sector. What would be your strategic suggestion that will be not action, maybe action oriented, but strategic, basically, for the government, for international agencies, for the global communities? What is missing from your experience? What would be the prioritization? New challenges are also coming. There are many reports, even EP reports, that New Horizon report. They are just calling that many new challenges will just end up with the existing set of challenges. So, from your own perspective, what actions need to be taken by the state agency, the government, also the international agencies in this particular given situation? What would be the likely activities that should be done by the academia, also the development sector people? So, from your experience, can I get some suggestions? That is the point.
Yep,
Yeah,
go ahead.
before Snigdha answers Professor Sheikh Tawhid Islam's question, I would like to say that this is from my own understanding, that resilience is more of an induced thing, and adaptation is more of a biological as well as natural thing. So on this too, this is my opinion, the way I would like to see. So resilience is more of an induced thing, and most of it is a jargon kind of a thing. But resilient behavior, so we cannot change the jargon, we cannot change what even system has introduced. So likewise, but adaptation was there from the beginning of the society.
No,
Yeah,
basically
please.
my point is that can we just go out of these micro activities to measure broad kind of set of policies that will help all the actors, the government, the international agencies, all other stakeholders to play certain roles on certain prioritized sectors that will help us to achieve some of the targets.
I think those recommendations and suggestions are out there, in the sector itself. What is missing is that putting people at the center. What is missing is that the funding flexibility. What is missing is that without ensuring financing, all of these will not work. And finally, systematic recognition, I would say, include data, but my data, I have my other own perspective also related to data, because the data also excludes people. So identifying the areas of exclusion and how we can make it inclusive and how we can make it all those reality, because it's basically how to make it real. So be the change first. That's what I would say. Finally, I think financing is extremely important. As I just said, just facilitating a plan would not make any sense unless there is a fund or budget to support that plan. Again, putting people at the center of it, ask people what do they think, whether they make 1-day plan or a month plan or 6-month plan or an annual plan. It's up to them to decide. So to me, it's more of the onus is on us. Are we ready to make that paradigm shift in our thinking process? Are we ready to make that paradigm shift and advocate for localized fund? Are we ready to make that shift in our approach where we pack both together, because time is running out? We cannot leave those people who are displaced on a daily basis from one place to the other due to conflict, and we are ignoring them just because it is politically driven. Then only the humanitarian development or humanitarian peace and development nexus can happen. So it is linked to the shift in the approach. It's linked to the governance. It's linked to the advocacy, and it's linked to the small examples that we can all create. And as I said, finally, are we measuring our failures? Can we document our failures and share it back with the community that, hey, we did not do it right, and that's why you are suffering? I know that it's probably more of an
Thanks, Didi.
activism kind of thing, but that's what probably you all need to do. We cannot really continue working just the way we are. Like it's a bit thinking and doing beyond the boxes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And one thing, Didi, we need some. Now we are at 52. Someone from us need to create the culture of get back to the community. So on trial basis, some of us can take this challenge that we will do this and get back to the community.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Yes, can I ask a question, ma'am?
Yes, please.
Yeah. First and foremost, I want to thank you for organizing this webinar. It was really an eye-opener for us, since most of us presently, from Maharashtra I'm talking, and the heat waves is too much nowadays. And I think we need to work on this concept climate change. Ma'am, since I'm attending for the first time, I just want to understand, can you in nutshell tell us the difference between adaptation and resilience? what the difference between this adaptation and resilience, and which is more important presently, whether it is adaptation or resilience. And if you are asking us to work on the policy level, can one strategy achieve both the goals, both of adaptation and resilience? Thank you.
Thank you. I think a resilience is sort of an outcome, or it's an organic process. I would say the more and more my capacities are strengthened, the more and more I'm capacitated. For example, if crop diversification, right? Or storing seeds for my next farming season, etc. Those are my readiness or preparedness, as well as my adaptive capacities are strengthened, right? So adaptive capacities is kind of in slow progression, yeah. And then when I can protect my crop from a flood or a pest attack, or maybe a dry spell, that's my resilience, that I could do that. So it's kind of an outcome level in process, which is resilience. And adaptation is you are constantly managing, anticipating, looking at it, deciding what I can do based on my experience, based on my culture, as I mentioned, based on my culture, based on my route, etc. So adaptation is a continuous adjustment, continuous learning, continuous improving, etc. So when we talk about resilient behavior, actually you need to measure it way before to measure the final resilient. And there is no final resilient behavior in today's world. Because even if you are ensuring irrigation, as I said, infrastructure resiliency might happen, but if farmers don't get fuel, if farmers don't get seeds, it's gone. I mean, food insecurity will be much higher this decade probably, which we are not anticipating now, both because of conflict and also for the climate change or weather related issues. So I would say, it can be unpacked in terms of in the inside box, the adaptive behaviors, and then the outside box are more resilient behaviors. Does it make sense?
Yes, ma'am. But which is more important according to you? What do you think? Which is more important, whether adaptation or resilience?
Both are important. We want people to be resilient, or their dream is resilient, right? For example, if you ask, when I asked a person, I don't know. I worked almost 11 years in Bangladesh, so I can bring many, many examples from that country, but also from other countries. What is your dream? If you ask, people will say, "Oh, I want a house which is not impacted by any disaster," right? So that's people's aspiration, right? You cannot ignore that.
Okay.
But when people are able to make that house and living there, that's their resilience, right? So I would say probably adaptation, anticipatory action, local knowledge, local capacity strengthening are important, because otherwise you cannot jump on resilience just by itself. So that's why you have to make more effort here. And as I said, when you are making that effort in that, as a practitioner or maybe as a project within the project, I hate projectized approach in adaptation as well. I would say unpack it, make people at the center, ask them, and think beyond boxes, take a bold step, give them, fight for it with the donor, that we want to give 100,000 Indian rupees to this community to help them deciding their anticipatory action and their own coping, strengthening their own capacities, then resilience probably will happen at some point. Sorry, my language will be very different because
No. Thank you, ma'am.
I'm tired of thinking in the boxes. Thank you.
Didi. Yeah, we have time. We need more questions.
Hello, Tapusda. Can I just request you to just add some of your experiences, because you have been working in this field for quite a long time. So can we also receive some suggestions from your side?
Yeah, one thing that from the question of Sundar Didi shared her experience.
একটু loudly যদি বলেন।
Yeah, Dada. The thing is that towards resilient, adaptation is one of the leading activities, or you need to adapt, and then you can be resilient. Here, I'm working in BRAC now. What our initial target is that we will make our community climate resilient. I mean, they can cope with the climate extreme. So for that, BRAC is taking some interventions like adaptation action. But the thing is, the final goal is the resilient. But the major challenge, as Didi said, the budget, the planning, localized plan. One thing is, sometime when it is driven by the policymakers or what we are doing, that the top-down approaches in development, those are actually not making good results to the resilience, towards resilience. In the coastal area of Bangladesh, you can see the number of adaptation intervention. Everyone is doing adaptation, but for at least for the 25 years, our Satkhira district in many upazelas, there are many adaptation interventions by NGOs, by government, even by private sectors. But the thing is that if we ask whether the community is resilient, the answer is no. And the major challenge is localization. Localizing empowering the community to plan themselves. I've seen Maisha is here. She has been working for building the capacity of community, that how the community can take their own decision and what they need. Like from BRAC, we are working for, in Satkhira, we are working for agriculture, for water. The thing is that if only agriculture and water is enough to make a community resilient, the simple answer is no. So when we are working, BRAC is working for agriculture, other organizations are not coming to the same community with different ideas, because there is a very stereotypic thinking from the development sector and the government that is the beneficiaries of particular intervention. So that needs to be broken by someone and empowering the community for their own decision. This is not like that, okay, I have decided or some policy has decided that community need this without the community. And climate change. So what happened today, tomorrow it will be not the same. So when government is planning that, okay, they need water crisis, this is true. There are crises in water, but again, another crisis is added because of this climate extremism. So those are the major challenge when we think that we will a community will be resilient themselves. And there are a number of adaptation intervention, but there is a gap of coordination and the designing of project by the local community in a local context is missing. This is, as Rohit asked me, sharing my experience. So this
Basically,
is,
can you please add one little thing? That is, do you think that there is a challenge in policy, or is there any kind of new things should be added, or why the coordination is not happening? Why people are differently acting on the same community? Why the adaptation projects failed? Didi talked about the people should be focused, they should be placed in the center. So is it because of the major macro policies are not just having those particular instruments, and that's why those are happening? So what are the actions that we should take?
Yeah, one thing that to me, there is not that significant gap in the policies, because we have number of policy. If one policy can address one thing, that other policy can support. The major challenge is the culture. The culture of respecting the policy is one. The culture of empowering the people. So one thing that since we are doing for more than 25 years in the same community, but the community voice, when the community will have the voice, then the policymakers, politicians, they will listen. But the culture is like that. We haven't built the capacity of the community to speak themselves or to think themselves, because many things, early climate adaptation things are very prescribed. So, okay, like this, that we will work for agriculture. What will for the fisher? They become, actually then what happened? The fisher become more marginalized then. So these are the things this is the gap, the coordination gap is due to the culture. So that's why if someone started a very comprehensive thing, not only in the paper, that the comprehensive disaster management, it's not like this. When we will start thinking in a comprehensive way and with an empowered community, what happened in the climate vulnerable areas, the community is not that empowered. The most of the empowered thing is actually by the external. I mean, external here, external is me, myself, who is working in the development sector. Didi is there.
Please complete, then I will come back.
So this is the thing, is that this is actually the culture of welcoming the community in the decision-making process. I'm calling this is the process. This not only, okay, their presence. This not only, that's the empowerment. We need the community empowerment and make the community plan themselves. We can only facilitate themselves. But what happened in reality, we forgot. We means here the government, the policymakers, and the development sector. We forgot that we are the facilitators. Sometimes we start planning ourselves and put it as a community plan. So that I noted that Maisha is here because they have a nice project that how they can empower the community to plan themselves. Till date, that many projects are there, but in Bangladesh, even I have some experiences from Odisha, that Panchayat from Odisha and Union Council from coastal Bangladesh, no one can write proposal of themselves, even in their native language. So how they will become resilient? Didi said that needs budget, money. So even if we are yet to make the community capable and empowered to plan their own budget, how even if we have budget, how they will utilize this. This is the main challenge, empowering the community. Towards resilient, we need to empower the community first, and then the empowered community can convince the policymaker, can harvest the projects and other plannings. Didi, I am done. This is you.
Thank you. No, it's very interesting. I think I would just add, in addition to what you have said, is that it's probably time for us to make our behavior change. as a developmental professional. That behavior probably will help, because we are part of the culture. As I said, it's we are all part of our own culture, and it's very structural. It's very power driven society that we live in, and we go to the community and think that we are more empowered than them, which is probably not. And that's why I feel that probably it's time for us as a development practitioner to be that change and make it happen, that our own behaviors are first need to be changed before we go to the community. We remember, I'm sure you all know Robert Chambers as the father of participatory approaches. And there are, in our earlier career life, there are villages in India where people have stopped. They have put up a big signboard that no more PRA in this village. Communities from the village stopped not to do it, because they think that it's done, but nothing is happening. Nothing is, even the plan itself is not left to the community. We are bringing it and we are making it future. There is a very nice book which is actually related to the cartoons of participatory approaches, basically the failures or our behaviors, very well documented, and I use it many times for many
This is
training.
Praxis.
Yeah, it was published by the Praxis, and I have them still. I still use them. So I would say, in addition to all that we are doing, I think a paradigm shift has to happen within the sector itself. To believe that communities are actually able to do many things if we give them more flexibility. Thank you. I'm done. Over.
Yeah, can learn from other people who are from the dry part. We have many examples from the coastal area. Didi has example from Bangladesh and other part. If some of us is from the dry part of climate change or in conflict zone participating here, if you kindly share your experience and opinions.
May I?
Sure, please.
Yeah. I also worked with the other part of the Odisha, Western Odisha. There, what happens once the forests, those were the native places for the tribals, and gradually, because of the mining, and Odisha, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, that Bihar, that region is mineral rich region, and the exploitation of these minerals now displacing a lot of tribals from their own area, and they are either going to the nearby industrial belts or going to out of the state, other places. So migration happens due to this mining activities, then desertification syndrome in the coast, western part of Odisha, due to scanty rain, and so it's a hub for migration source. Odisha has happened, and in coastal part it is floods and cyclones. So because the forest resources are depleting day by day, and the food security is also reducing from the depending upon the forest, and now these people start migrating a lot for work. So how to tackle those things. We are trying to promote small livelihood activities poultry-based livelihood, goatery-based livelihood for the tribal families, so that they at least they sustain, and for the employment for the children, for the youth. We are trying skilling them, linking them to different skilling things, and our first approach is to establish their own agro-based or NTFE-based enterprise. And now, because of mobile penetration, also some digital literacy for the girls. As a NGO, whatever we can do, we are doing that. But the larger development policy of the government for mining and for this deforestation, it is adding to the climate change in those areas, and people are becoming marginalized. By the side of the industrial belt, there are villages who are, there were cases of child. A lot of children died because of malnutrition and all, just beside the industrial belt. So it is a unfortunate thing that we are not planning our biodiversity conservation and judiciously using the mineral resources. So that is happening. It is a kind of people are they are it's a distressed migration from those areas. So it is happening.
Yeah, and I will add you that that's because I was in Odisha, Bhitarkonika last month, and I found that there are 5 villages. I forgot the name, what they call is 5 villages actually. The people are migrating from those climate vulnerable 5 villages in a particular one village. There's a government project.
This Satvaya?
Yeah, Sadbhaya. The
Yes,
7
yes.
brothers. Yeah. So thing is that the challenge is that sometimes we choose ourselves, the development organization, as you are, that you are thinking that we will have agriculture based. Same thing happened in Bangladesh. We thought that okay, we will have agriculture based intervention. But the thing is, even in a village, agrarian village, all families or all people are not capable having good agriculture, good farming, even in a small community. What happened in case of Bangladesh, I know one organization, they are working with a group of ethnic community. They were actually the forest dependent community. So we are trying to make them climate vulnerable, the climate resilient by agriculture. So one thing is that agriculture was not their own practice. They need to learn agriculture first to adapt and then becoming resilient. So 2 steps towards the resilience. So one step is not their choice. This is the choice of ourselves, that we are choosing a different thing for a community. This is the major challenge towards the resilience. So when the community is empowered enough, they have the capacity to convince. In this discussion, Didi said that, okay, ask the donor, make the donor doing this. So that means empowering ourselves, that when a development organization or NGO is empowered enough to make the donor convinced that they need this. So we are not making the community empowered that to convince ourselves. Sometimes we impose the technologies which they really don't like. This is the challenge, that it's taking that long time towards the resilience in the climate vulnerable area. If it is a conflict zone, then the challenges are really different and very extreme. Thank you for this. We have another 15 minutes.
Yeah, Tapasda, am I audible?
Yeah, Dada. Please.
So, although I don't know everyone in the group, those who are present, 51 people. So I know one person, and I may not know all of them. So may I request other participants to raise your questions, to put your questions. And we would like to hear from Jashodhara Bhattakur on northeastern states. What are the problem? Why this resilience and adaptation? How do they understand, and how do they link those two things? And this is very important. Nupur, I would request you to
Yes,
just
sir.
see who is raising hands, and accordingly give him or her.
Sure. Sure, sir.
Yeah.
Anyway, the participant should be able to unmute themselves and speak also.
Okay. Thank you.
But I'm here if anyone needs any assistance.
Yeah. Can you speak a bit loudly so that everyone can hear? Yes.
I thanks Snigdha Aunty for the wonderful talk. It is something which we are all experiencing today, climate change, but somehow maybe we are unable to theorize or apply into our practical lives as to how to become resilient to climate change in individual and collective capacity, particularly in urban areas. But as Dr. Aniruddha has mentioned that he would like to hear a little bit about how communities in the Northeast perhaps are experiencing this, should I say, dilemma as well. I would like to just briefly introduce my PhD work because that is where my observations stem from. And right at the get-go, I would like to say that it's very limited in scope, my observations. I have worked with the Karbi tribe of Assam. They are the largest indigenous community. I'm sorry, they are the fourth largest indigenous community, but the area they inhabit is the largest district of Assam in terms of size, and it's also sixth scheduled district. However, in my 7 years of working on the issue of development of the Karbi, there are a few things. The established knowledge on them is that they are considered as one of the most backward tribes of India as per national statistics. And almost everywhere we see, like, for example, the Human Development Reports of 2014 also put forward the same sort of percentages and averages which point towards, general backwardness of the region. But I think what we are unable to see also in terms of policy is that most of the indicators and signifiers are non-coterminous to the Karbi community as they are to the other communities of the Northeast. So, for example, when an outsider or a practitioner comes and talks about development with the community, and the Karbi term for development is Chingthur. So, if we are unable to understand or make them understand what we mean by development, because the community is pretty self-sufficient in all other aspects in terms of, say, subsistence agriculture, in terms of knowledge on ethnomedicine and ethnobotany, in terms of their crop cycles and what their sort of mechanisms to resist natural disasters such as floods, heavy rainfall, and so on and so forth. But what they're not equipped to handle, in my experience, is they're not equipped to handle man-made sort of disasters such as food scarcity, or say a pandemic which has caused a lot of blockages of movement, which is then causing them to somehow making an impact on their agriculture, and also drought. So climate change has affected Karbi Anglong in the last 10 years in the form of drought, also which they are not equipped to deal with. And during this period, they had to also sell a lot of their agricultural land to find alternative means of livelihood, where they are probably not very skilled in. And for example, auto rickshaw pulling, or some other odd jobs, or even some have sought work in projects, in the health sector, and so on and so forth. But because of the lack of skill in these areas, or the lack of demand in the case of, say, auto rickshaw pulling, because Karbi Anglong is, 90% of it is rural, so it is not a very lucrative means of the informal sector. But so in such cases, they think that the alternative is to sell their land and to get some immediate money, and they are unable to invest it properly. Then they end up losing their land and also losing their primary source of livelihood. And they're also forest dependent. So the minute the reserve forests are, there is an increase in the number of district reserve forests, then the access to the forest is also reduced for the community. So these are multi-pronged, I think, challenges which the community faces today. And I'm only talking about the Karbi here. And so in such a situation, the district council, the Karbi Anglong Autonomous Council, and the other parallel state infrastructures which are supporting the council, they, in my opinion, they should really take the community's perspective and the community's language, the vocabulary with which they understand these things like development or underdevelopment, or deforestation, afforestation, or displacement, all of these things into account. In this regard, I would like to give one example. So in a conversation with a government official, this was sometime in 2024 May. So when I asked him, he was part of the Transformation and Development Department of Karbi Anglong. And then I asked him, whether these upcoming development activities where forest land is being leased out to third parties for, mining and clearing and all of that, how have they impacted the livelihoods of the community? So, of course, he was hesitant to speak about it in the beginning. But later he asked me to put my recorder, turn it off, and he said, I would like to share it with you off the record. And he said that, there are these water bodies where the community used to come and fish. But since it has been fenced off as private, so the community has lost access to this land, this resource, sorry. And they had to move elsewhere to perform the activity of fishing. That is one example. The second example is they have a particular annual fishing ritual called Okkipru, where women also participate in large numbers. And it is a sort of it's not a migration, but they travel down to the water source, which is close to Guwahati. So it's called Bomahi Bill. And they would perform this ritualistic fishing activity. And but ever since Star Cement has a popular, it's a popular cement basically, which has established a factory there. So the water body has now become a landfill, and this whole activity which enabled the Karbi to recognize or self-identify as indigenous. So they have been stripped of this opportunity to perform this particular activity because it is reducing these kind of resources. So, so in my experience of working as a researcher among the community, such they are afflicted by several such challenges. And as Snigdha ma'am has rightly said, that we need to find more inclusive ways of bringing in the community's discourse into policy making. So maybe we could also learn more from the experts present here today about how that can be done, and that can be a conversation or a way forward. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Joshidara. Now, I think Nandini has raised the hand, and we'll take
Yes,
Nandini, please.
I have something to know from Tapasda. I know you are working in climate change related sector for many years, and you also know many organizations. Do you know any organization or any projects which is paying more special attention towards better education beyond the government-led general education in the climate vulnerable areas? I mean, as a means of making people more resilient.
It's truly is not, because a few organizations, they are working for the technical education in coastal area, but the back itself doing work. Khan is doing technical education, and Nazrul City Sangshad NSS in the central coast is doing. But the thing is that since government's attempt towards education is comparatively better, I use the term comparatively. For that, now NGOs are not that investing in the education. A few NGOs that I mentioned the name, they are working for technical educations there.
Or any other activities like to reduce the fallout or other type of activities that may help our general education system.
Yeah,
I mean,
that a few organizations, they're working, ensuring the girls' presence in the school. One organization called Preruna, they're working in Munshiganj. Another organization, namely Abash. Abash is working in Borishal and Borguna to keep the girls in the school. And making that they are also advocating for reducing the child marriage there, so that the dropout of girl student will be reduced. But they are working good in this in the climate vulnerable coastal areas. Also, IPSHA is working in Chattogram belt and in Cox's Bazar. Setu is one organization. They are working in Cox's Bazar.
okay, that was the thing.
Yeah, as Didi mentioned, the
Shorter
Caritas
time.
Bangladesh, Caritas
So-
Bangladesh is technical education and childhood education. And I'll add with Didi, they are also working in the Bill Basin as well as the coastal.
Tapasda,
Dada?
there is a time limit. So
Okay.
4:30 we wanted to end this. So it is already 4:29. So we can have 2-3 minutes or maybe 4 minutes. So please conclude. And if you need, I will pass on Nandini's number so that directly you can communicate.
Thanks, Dada, and thank you all who have participated there, and it was a good discussion. Definitely, I'm grateful to Didi. Didi has many things here that is necessary to become a resilient, and has shared us her experience related to migration and project planning and budgeting and the need of the budget. Now I'll go to Didi for the for last 1 or 2 minutes if she has anything to share with us. But I'm grateful to all the participants and Spare India. The final speaker will be by the Spare India. Now I'm requesting Didi to add a few things by 1 minute. It's almost 5. Yeah, Didi.
No, I think thank you so much, Tapasda, and thank you, Sphere India, for hosting this. I think the discussion needs to happen more systematically and more objectively, so that we all can take some action
Yeah,
when we
and
go back.
thanks, Didi. It was very systematically.
I think anyway, and I think my key takeaway will be that we need to make the concept of people at the center a reality, and that's where lies everything, and also to not leave out conflict out of this discussion and
Thank you, Didi.
the weak governance, because otherwise resilience is a buzzword, another buzzword. Yeah. So thank you so much.
And my sincere thanks to Aniruddha. Dada has organized this, selecting these. Those are the many things. And only because of Dada, a good number of people is empowered, like us. Not I'm saying that not the is also working with community, but people like us who are working in the development sector, who are in policy making or who are in politics, Dada has convinced about on how to think openly. So my sincere thanks to Dada and other participants. Finally, to Spare India.
I would like to request Nupur to give vote of thanks and say the last few words.
Thank you so much, sir. And like Tapasda also mentioned, we are thankful to you for bringing together this wonderful group together. And it's been very encouraging to see these discussions where we see a lot of participants also engaging thoroughly. I think with the webinar exhaustion that has reduced in the past, but with this group and these discussions, it has always been very interactive. And so I'm really thankful for Aniruddha sir for bringing together this initiative and this group. And thank you, Snigdha ma'am, for the wonderful sharing. And we've also taken your feedback on how we can more structurally organize these discussions. And another thing would be how we document these discussions and take the learnings forward and share it with the larger group. So thank you, Tapasda. You very nicely you coordinated the discussion and with all of the participants as well. So with that, I'll conclude my formal vote of thanks. Thank you everyone for your time. And we look forward to seeing all of you in our next webinar next month. Please block your dates, 20th May 2026. We will meet again. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nupur.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.